The 2026 election could end up being perhaps the darkest election in New Zealand's political history. Not because of who will win, but because of how they may win. The coalition has prohibited people from enrolling to vote in the 2 weeks prior to the election. Anyone who tries to enrol or change their electoral details in the final 2 weeks will not have the right to vote. Because the government views fundamental rights as privileges that it can confiscate on a whim. That is their authoritarian mindset. The reasoning behind this is simple. They know that these late enrolments often skew heavily to the left. They know that disenfranchising these voters will increase their chance of retaining power. They are stomping on the right to vote to preserve their own power. Polling indicates the election will be close. These highly unethical voting law reforms could easily tip the election in their favour. Effectively, the election could be rigged. That is a genuinely horrifying prospect. They claimed the voting rule changes were to make the result faster. It was later found that would not be the consequence. The change serves exclusively to disenfranchise left-wing voters. That is an incredibly disturbing reality. If the election goes down like this, it will be an extremely dark day in the nation's history. It would make the election, and by extension the government, illegitimate. It would undermine the authority of the government. It would bring us one big step closer to third world status. Right-wingers are fine with this. They claim people have a responsibility to enrol early. Imagine if Labour introduced new laws cutting voting places in rural areas. What if they said this would save money? What if they said responsible voters had a duty to travel to vote if need be? There is no difference. It is just the left-wing version of the same cynical tactic. A shameful attempt at suppressing the vote. Of course, if the left did this, I would be furious. But when the right wing does it, most right-wingers do not care. Because they are amoral partisan hacks who only care about winning. But this is the precedent the coalition has set. So why shouldn't Labour play that ugly game too? New Zealand should have a proper constitution that prohibits such cynical, self-serving policy making. Fundamental constitutional issues should be out of reach of the government, upheld in a supreme and entrenched constitution. Governments that attempt this kind of thing should be removed and their figureheads incarcerated. It is incredibly dangerous. It badly damages the legitimacy of the government, and that is a very dangerous thing. I don't want New Zealand to become a failed state. But that is the logical endpoint of such self-serving partisan politics.